Today, we're going to go over the Universe website platform. For a lot of local campaigns, getting a good looking website online can be difficult. We designed this platform specifically for down ballot races, so you can get a website up and out quickly and easily. The first thing that you'll notice after you make an account and sign in is your first choice is which subdomain you're going to choose. This is the default domain for your website. Everybody, when signing up, gets a subdomain on our campaign.win domain name. You can, of course, customize this to any domain that you own after you set up your website. But for this initial one, you get to choose something that will work well with your campaign. For this one, we're just going to use example. Every domain name here has to be unique, so it will tell you if the name is available or not. It's like picking a username on a social media website. And we can move on to the next step. Second choice is which homepage layout you want. This is an easy choice since we only have one right now. We'll be coming out with a slew of new themes in the near future. So we'll choose the default and move right along. Next step is to upload a logo. This step is quite important because it will help guide the rest of your site's design as we move forward. When you upload your logo, you'll see a nice preview on the side for what your initial site might look like. And we can move on to the next step where we can, of course, customize our colors. You'll see that we've extracted some colors from your logo here to help kind of guide your choices of what you might want your site to look like. So we'll go ahead and pick a couple that have been extracted for our convenience. But I kind of want a bit more of a gold vibe for these callout buttons. So you can, of course, pop this open and customize the look of any of your primary and your accent color to your heart's content. Once you're ready to go, you can hit the Launch New Site button, and it will spin for a moment. And when it's done setting up your website, it will look something like this. Everybody, when their site is first created, will have a default homepage made. To edit the homepage, you can click in on the site navigation on the side, and you'll see all the options that you have for customizing this page. It comes with a big banner image up top, option for calls to action buttons here. You get email sign up out of the box. About the candidate pages, you'll be able to add endorsements and issues, which we'll see in a moment. And you can, of course, link to your donation forms and enable volunteer sign up. The options over here on the left are meant to be very easy to edit. In addition to the logos and the colors and, of course, customizing all the images, you get some basic control over layout and design for your campaign website. And so let's go ahead and, with this banner image, maybe we want to have a candidate's headshot in here instead. You can choose the focal point where the center of this image will be focused to make sure that the layout will look good no matter what device size it loads up on. But I kind of like the banner image we had before, so let's go ahead and replace this with the landscape that we were looking at previously. As you keep going down the list, you'll continue to see options for how to customize your site's layout and design to your heart's content. All of the text that you might edit will get live updates in the preview area as you type, so you can see exactly the type of site that you're putting together as you go. Every major section on the homepage, you're able to toggle on and off. So if you don't want the About page, you can choose to disable it. And as we keep going down, you'll see sections in many of these pages that are more rich text editing. If you've used something like Medium before or any blogging platform, this should feel fairly familiar to you. When you press enter on a new line, you'll have the option of inserting content blocks like horizontal rules for design elements, images or videos or what have you to customize this rich text block to your heart's content. For the actual text content itself, it also updates live as you type. And if you want to customize the style of this text, whether it's the color or the styling and the boldness, as well as colors pulled directly from your color palette, you can do so just by highlighting the text and using the pop-up menu that appears. If you go and edit your campaign colors after the fact, these colors will also update live to keep your design and theme in line as it might evolve over the course of the campaign. Make sure whenever you're done editing a page that you hit the save button. You will see it spin for a moment at the bottom as it saves your page. And you'll get a warning if you try and exit before saving. If we keep scrolling down, you'll see sections where we can start adding more rich content like endorsements or issues. And you notice like the other sections, we can tweak the text that appears above it. We can show and hide the section entirely. But this is our first time encountering what's called a collection. Collections are collections of pages or content that might be displayed on other pages, like how we will display endorsements on the homepage or issues on the homepage, but often link out to a dedicated page on the website. You'll see that we have the option to choose which endorsements collection we want here, and we don't have any available to us. That's because we haven't actually made an endorsements page yet. We'll see in a moment after making our endorsements page, it will appear here for us to select to add to the homepage. So let's go ahead and do that now. The way you add new pages, you go back to the main navigation menu and hit the Add a Page button, where you'll be able to select from a slew of page templates to add to your website. We just said that we want to include endorsements, so we're going to go ahead and select the endorsements page here. and be able to customize and edit this new page we just created. Whenever you make a new page, you'll see at the top all of the settings for this page. These settings can be accessed again when you save the page by clicking on the little gear icon up top. These settings include things like the type of name you want included for if you pull this page into navigation. So what will show up in the nav bar. We will likely want it in the nav bar, so let's call this endorsements. The slug is the URL where people will be able to access this site. This has to be unique across the entire site and will be what people see in the URL bar as they navigate to this page. The created at and updated at timestamps for this page are more important for blog posts, where those are actually displayed, but you can customize those if you want to backdate your articles. Then we get to our SEO fields. So these are things like the page's title or description. These are things that show up when the page shows up in Google search results, as well as keywords that can help search engines find this page and know how to categorize it. If you don't supply anything custom here, it will inherit the settings that you can configure for the entire site. So you don't have to provide this for every single page that you create. But if you want to override it for certain pages so that they will appear differently in search results, you can do so. And finally, you can supply a social image that will show up if this page is shared over text message on social media and so forth. This will also default to the site's default social image if you set that in your settings. Moving on to actual page content down below, much like the other pages, you get full live customization of what we can view here. Most of the content will come from endorsements that we add after the fact. So here we're largely just customizing what the header looks like when people arrive at this dedicated endorsements page. Once you have your header set in a way that feels good to you, you can go ahead and hit the save button to create this new page. Because this is a collections page, meaning it has multiple items that it will store underneath, in the beginning it looks pretty empty because we haven't actually made any new endorsements. So let's go ahead and add a new one. For any collections page, like endorsements or blog posts or issues pages, you'll go to the records tab in order to add a new item underneath this list. So we're going to go ahead and hit the new endorsements button to create our first endorsement. We'll be able to choose an image for the endorsement that we're listing. Every endorsement requires a name. And once you add it, you'll actually see a preview of the endorsement as it will appear on your website on the side. So as you enter in the information, you'll see that preview. After you've created your endorsement, go ahead and hit save, and you will see we've successfully created the endorsement record. Let's go ahead and return to our homepage so that we can hopefully add it here on our homepage. You'll see the endorsement section still empty. We have to tell it that we want to render our new endorsements page here. So we're going to go down to the endorsements dropdown and select the new endorsements collection we just created, and you'll see it will fill in with our endorsements as we add it here. The same process works for issues pages and for blog posts as well. Let's go over some of the settings that you have access to now as you customize your website. All of your settings will appear underneath the main site navigation. This includes things like your call to action buttons. These are these large buttons at the top and at the bottom, just above the footer, that should appear on every single page. You can customize where these link to and what their titles are, depending on the priority of your campaign and what you want to ask of people visiting your site. You can also customize the SEO settings for your main page. Like I said before, this text content will be inherited by every page created unless you provide an override in that page's settings. We do support linking out to any kind of contribution URL. ActBlue is supported if you add your ActBlue link here. You can also choose to link directly to a page on your website. The design page is where you'll come to customize your logo, your overall site theme, and probably most importantly, your site colors and your fonts. By default, we choose some fairly straightforward fonts, but you can come in here and fully tweak what your site will look like and really get the font set that you want. You can customize the favicon here. That is the small icon that appears in the tab of your browser. And you can choose the type of navigation bar you want. This might include your light color nav bar, dark color nav bar, a full black nav bar if you just want it to be a black bar, or a solid white one. This is helpful depending on the logo that you upload. Just make sure that the background of your nav bar has high enough contrast to support it. These dark and light colors are pulled directly from your color palette, so it will look good no matter what colors you select for your style. Under email, you get to customize what the email signup forms look like for your website. We currently support email through our platform, if you're contracted with our CRM. And you can also wire up a MailChimp account if you're so inclined. We will be adding support for NGP Van and Constant Contacts shortly. You can also select what types of fields you want to enable for data collection. So that includes names and phone numbers if you want to add those to the data you collect. And you can also customize a lot of details about your footer. Most importantly, this is where you'll include your disclosure information. Every single campaign is required to disclose on their website who they are, who paid for it. So please look up the local laws in your area and make sure to include your appropriate disclaimer. Moving right along. We can also customize our social information for this website. This is where you'll include your default social image. So this is the card, like I said before, that will appear if anybody shares a URL to your website on social media or over text message. This is the preview image that will appear. This is the default one for the entire site. I would recommend setting one just so all of your pages do have a social image, but you can override this on a per page basis. So you can customize that social image for individual pages if you want to do so. And you can also include all of the different ways that people can contact you. These URLs will appear in the appropriate places on your website as you enter them in, including social icons up at the top for people to come and find you on social. And for your contact address, it will appear at the bottom of your page in the footer. So you can make sure to save your social data so people can find you online. We do support adding custom tracking codes. I would recommend wiring up a Google Analytics ID or including a Facebook pixel onto the site. If you have custom tracking needs, please reach out. It's fairly easy to add these to the site, and we can make sure to enable whichever tracking software you prefer on your website. And last but not least, you can customize what the volunteer CTAs will look like across the site. Currently, we support volunteer signups coming directly to Universe and our CRM platform, but you can always link out to other platforms from your site if you want to include volunteer signups for other platforms. When you're ready to deploy your website, you can hit the Deploy Website button at the bottom of the page here. And whoops, we do make you add a payment method before your site can go live. So this is a great chance to talk about the Universe admin panel here. This is where you'll customize settings for your Universe account, including adding new team members who can have edit access to your website, adding new domain names, which we'll go over in a moment, and in this case, adding a credit card to your billing. We do charge $24 a month for the website platform. And before you can go live, we do make you add a new payment method. So we've pre-filled mine here. So let's go ahead and hit Save Card. You'll see it spin for a moment, and then it will show that you have saved a new card. On this panel, you can also, of course, customize your domain names that you can deploy your website to. You get our complimentary campaign.win domain name. But if you want to add a new domain name, you can simply type a domain name that you own in here and hit the Add Domain button, and it will show you the details for how to configure your DNS settings to point your website to this domain name. We have a separate article on how to wire up domain names on our support site. I would point you there if you don't have a good understanding of DNS or need some help wiring up that custom domain name. So now that we've wired up a new billing method, let's pop back to our site and hit that Deploy Website button again. You'll see it spins for a moment as it's launching your site, and it will tell you that your site is deployed once it's ready. You can view your public website by clicking on the little arrow down here in the bottom right corner, which will bring you to your deployed campaign website. So as you make changes and hit the deploy button, those changes will show up here. You can edit to your heart's content in the editor, and all of those changes will be private until you hit that deploy website button. So I would really recommend leaning on the preview panel here to get your website looking exactly how it should. If you look towards the middle, you can see that we can toggle between desktop view and mobile view, so we can get a feel for what our website will look like when we're visiting from a mobile phone. You can also choose to do a full screen preview of your website by clicking on this icon here in the bottom left. It will take over the screen so you can look at what your website will look like in a full screen environment. You can click the little X button in the bottom right in order to exit. So that is an end-to-end review of our campaign website platform. I hope you find it useful. And of course, please feel free to reach out if we can be helpful in any way as you get your campaign up and running.